thing about reality is that we're all experiencing it in a completely different way. So when we say, what is the truth of reality? The same thing can be happening in the room, and everyone's truth of reality, everyone's perspective of what's happening is going to be completely different. So when we talk about, in the general sense in the world, when we talk about distortion, we're often referring to consensus reality. So if you're the person standing in the middle going, blah, 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 and everyone around you is like, she's weird, she's weird, she's weird. Oh, we all agree she's weird, right? Now imagine there's someone in the middle who's standing like this, and everyone around them is going, blah, 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 blah. Now we're all like, that person's weird. That person's just a statue and we're having fun over here. So it really is about the consensus, right? There's like a voting system of what is true reality, whether we like it or not. And as someone who's been put in a mental hospital on multiple occasions, I can say that the voting system is strong, okay? There's a force behind it. There's systems in place to keep it in order. There's laws and jails and chains and all sorts of things to make sure that we follow this consensus reality. And as those of you who I know on this call, I know you've seen through that in many ways. And we're still discovering what true reality even means. And when I think about the state of psychosis, that what we call psychosis, which is basically not living in consensus reality, I feel like a child. And if you can remember being a child, or if you're witnessing other children, you can see that there is a vast field of information that they're tapping into. Now, when they're creating a game or a story or a piece of art, they could be in their imagination. And what does that even mean? There's like the field of possibility of just like, let's try something we've never done before and let's pull it in and see how it feels. They could be in a past life memory or something like that we don't understand, and they're replaying something that has already happened to their soul, that they already know how to do. They could be feeling the people in the room and expressing through play or emotions or whatever what they're feeling in the room, right? So it's like there's this vast kind of bank of information, the information field that they're pulling from. And somehow we don't look at a child and say, hey, you're crazy, because I don't understand what you're talking about, right? No, I hope we don't say that to children anyway, that we look at them and say like, oh, that's interesting. Where'd you get that from? Or did you hear that from someone? Did you just make that up? Like, it's super interesting and fascinating to us that they're creating new realities. And so when we are deciding as adults, when we're deciding what is reality, judgment does come into play. Judgment is not wrong. Judgment is an equal frequency to discernment, actually. We need judgment to have discernment. So we're not making it wrong that you might judge this person crazy and that person might judge you crazy. It's more about feeling what's coming up in us so we can discern our truth. Because if we're so focused on judging the others and putting them in boxes to keep whatever our previous truth was safe, well, we're not evolving. We're not expanding. We're not understanding. We're just holding on for dear life, not wanting to change. And so what I wanted to bring today, yes, it's about mental health, but it's also just in general about our immediate relationships. What are we making them to mean? How are we showing up in them? Are we projecting shame onto other people because they triggered something that was an unintegrated part in us? Are we projecting shame onto ourselves because other people don't understand us? So I just want to give another opportunity, and this time to speak what's coming up for you when I say this. And it can be something in your personal life or just theoretical, whatever it is, this is welcome. I just ask again that we don't say names here. This is a recorded call, and also just want to like get to the need of what's happening for you. It's not about the other person. So the floor is open, and just sharing what's come up in this first part of the call.
Yeah, I'll go. Um, you can see Ethan. I don't know if everybody has it on guest or gallery view, but if you don't, there's buttons on the top right. There's like 6 little Rubik cube squares. Click on that so you can see everybody. Um, but Ethan's like crawling out of his skin in my reality and like jumping around and doing all these things, and I'm just like feeling more and more anger and like I'm bubbling and my head feels like it's gonna pop off. And it's not necessarily Ethan, it's just this like collective continual from the meditation. And it's like the steam is just coming out of my head right now. So like in my disruption to like allow myself to move the energy, like I saw myself when you asked like what's coming up from you guys, like I just wanted to, you know what, it's safer just to shut down and like go into the hole. And for me, the hole like kind of goes black. I close my eyes, I stop breathing as much. And then I was like, okay, nobody's talking, so I might as well here, I'll let it out a little bit. And Simone, I've been doing some work with Simone in her regression sessions and just in life. And she told me, she gave me the reflection about like you're a crock pot and you're just letting like a little steam out at a time, like um so with that, you know, going back to what I wrote in the chat about acceptance of others, I guess the what I'm gonna point back to myself in this container is just acceptance of my feelings, acceptance of like how big it feels inside of my body right now. And I'm like starting to sweat. But just allow that to be and move and talk about it. And I'm grateful that we have this container to speak and feel, even if it doesn't make sense. So hope this gives anyone like an invitation just to be themselves. And for me, it's like acceptance of the other and acceptance of myself, exactly where I am at right now. So thanks.
Thank you, Natasha. I really appreciate your open share. And what I want to point to is it's for good reason that you have this mechanism, right? Like this crock pot analogy that you just made. Like, look at where you are. You're in a restaurant, you're in a cafe. You can't scream. What would happen if you screamed in this cafe right now? You don't know. Lots of things could happen, okay? It would stir up. Guess what would happen? Actually, stir up the energy of the whole field of humans in that restaurant, right? But look at a child. If a child is sitting in that restaurant and they want to scream in that restaurant, they're gonna fucking scream in that restaurant. This is what I want to bring us back to. Like somewhere along the way, from being the child to being the adult, we made it wrong to be truly authentic to what we're feeling. Truly authentic is a scream sometimes. And I want to make that okay for everyone and also say that I understand why we don't allow ourselves to go there. I'm someone who has and you know, I've reaped the repercussions of that. Like it's a very suppressed system that we're in. But if we're being honest about how we're feeling, then that's the gift. That's the gift to others. right? It's like when I'm angry, I scream. I give you permission. When you're angry, you should scream, and when you're angry, you should scream, right? Like this is how we create the revolution of feeling again, of letting ourselves fucking feel what it is that we're feeling. Thank you for sharing that. The floor is open for anyone else.
Well, I'll share because I'm here. What I noticed is like when you brought it into the, like our personal lives, our personal relations, like my life is 99% of the time with Natasha. So I just kind of like dramatically look over. And also because we're the only people with our with our faces on the video, I was sort of like taking an opportunity of being feeling witnessed with this group to like put on a little show of what that means. And like I don't know if like it was like dramatizing it or like if that was like a disruption of like maybe creating a theatrical element that like took other people's attention in the group to looking at our video rather than their own internal reflection on how this principle applies to their lives. But I didn't feel like it was necessarily coming from me fully like going into reflective process of what you said, but more like passively like playing with it into sort of a game or a dance, maybe as a form of avoidance of feeling the depth of that question. Because it's heavy of like how, much we impact each other's lives. I also, when I think about it, I feel like I've been in a pretty comfortable holding pattern. And sometimes it's a little concerning because like that comfort we cling to of like, oh, nothing's changing. It's all good around here. Like capitalism's working for everybody. We're all good. Like, don't worry about it. Climate's fine. And so like it's it's kind of like a change is coming, Like so yeah, I'm sort of aware that we've got a big shift coming up, certainly in our reality. Um and I think that, yeah, it's becoming evident.
Thank you, Ethan. Yeah, this is exactly what I'm pointing to. Like most of us, for very good reason, we have these coping mechanisms in place. So it's really not about making it wrong. It's about speaking to it first, which you just both did. So I really want to congratulate you and thank you for that. So we like bring it into the field of awareness that it's there, right? And then baby steps, like the baby learns to crawl, we learn to be ourselves again. It's literally what's happening. Um, and what I'm feeling into is the rightness of it all, because we do need to explore what we are not to determine what that which we are, right? Like we need to feel like, is there a dissonance or a resonance happening here? Is this supportive or not supportive? And on a collective level, that is what's been happening. We've been going into the depths of the gunk and feeling, oh, like what, for example, what does it feel like to douse ourselves in chemicals so that we don't feel what's alive in our body? Like this is literally happening on our planet. Like spray perfume so you don't feel like the pheromones of your body and like the true authentic expression of your body is being suppressed in all the ways if you're living in society. And so I think collectively know that that feels fucking terrible. And now we're like, who am I? What feels good to me in my body? And that's a discovery process. And I just want to read the share in the chat here from Kat. We have, oh my gosh, I've been feeling this so much lately. Like there's something wrong with me because I think I'm different, not accepted for who I am. I feel I'm not good enough or different. Sometimes I feel like I'm not accepted, so I have chosen not to be around people and who do not accept me for who I am. Acceptance of my feelings, so true, Natasha. I looked up consensus reality. So glad that you are addressing this today. It says consensus reality is the set of beliefs, norms, and shared assumptions that a group of people collectively agrees to be real. I'm so supportive of why my daughter is not choosing to live in my community because of the acceptance and difference of values and societal issues. Thank you. Yeah, imagine how many people in this world, I'm willing to bet, as a practitioner, majority, are feeling what you just described, Kat. Like something is wrong with me, I need to retreat from people and retreat from the world. We're all feeling that. We're all feeling that on some level. And we are, like I said, the essence of what we are is love, is the creative energy in all, is pure existence, is God, whatever word you want to use, we are all that. So everything is a shared experience. There's no isolated, experiences. And so when we take that into consideration, all that which I just shared, and before I go into next step, does anyone else want to share?
Hey, me.
Hi.
I'm just been juggling baby. I didn't want to be like too moving on the screen. He's eating now, but yeah, I would like to share. So what's been coming up for me really strong and in this process is that, as many of you know, I kind of have I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum. I feel like in some ways where I express fully and freely, and I'm like, I don't give a fuck about, what people think or whatever. And it's like, and I'm learning how to have discernment in what's appropriate and what's not, and not to suppress it or not express it, but like, how can I process my anger without subjecting people to certain things? Or how can I feel what I'm feeling, or when is it appropriate? And I'm curious for reflection to people in this group. How does it feel? What's my question? The question is, society is not accepting of like that authentic, pure expression all the time. Like the example you used in the restaurant, if I just started screaming, like and if I have like kids with me, maybe I get like CPS called, or, like maybe the police show up, or, like it's maybe like no big deal, but people think because it's not accepted in society to like scream in a restaurant, that this is like an episode that could get me into trouble, right? And so like and there are like different professional scenarios, like as a midwife, as a birth keeper, like if I started screaming out of birth because I'm angry about something, that's not appropriate, right? So like how do I'm just curious. And this is something that I've been exploring. And maybe I mean going to like the other extreme, like to be more accepted in society. But like, how do I keep that authentic expression, but at the same time, respecting other people and keeping my family and myself safe and not over processing and that sort of thing. So that's kind of like my dance right now. And it's been a beautiful looking inward at what's happening. That's my share. Thank you.
Thank you, Zoe. Yeah, that's one of the reasons Zoe's been one of my greatest teachers, because she allowed herself to fully go into that. And I was like, you can do that? Whoa. And what I want to share about that, Zoe, and I'm open for other people too, but because I've done these sessions with people where we allow ourselves to fully go into the expression without projecting it, like feeling it as just simply energy. And someone on this call can speak to that. We just did that yesterday, right? So there was like so much like anxiety and anger and all these things, but because it was in a container that we deemed like a session and a safe space, we were just feeling it. We were just like, and like moving it and hitting things, and then it moved, it changed into something else. And that is actually a tribal thing to do, like a very animal thing to do, a very childlike thing to do, a very natural thing to do, is to just feel it. We know that actually makes it safer, because then we don't explode onto other people, because we're feeling it in real time and we're feeling it as energy, and we're not making it about you, or you. It's with living currently within us. So So we give ourselves permission to do that work. And like we just said, like there are certain spaces currently, unfortunately, where that's not understood. And we can't do that because people will call the police or people will like call an ambulance, right? So that is kind of like the unfortunate position we find ourselves in right now. But as an energy sensitive, conscious being, you can step away. You can say, right now, I need to step away from this. I need to just feel, I'm going to step out of the restaurant. I'm going to walk into the jungle or whatever it is. And get like, because we suppress it in that moment, our body has learned to push it further down, further down, further down, and then explodes at someone else, right? When we didn't mean to do that. So I'll also open if anyone else wants to share about their mechanisms with that.
Well, when Zoe just shared, it reminded like I was okay, where am I at in the coffee shop, right? And I thought I was pretty free because I'm moving, I'm doing everything, but I recognize there's such a big conditioning that I have myself in. It's like the unaware box that my throat chakra to actually go out and scream is just so, it's just there. It's been conditioned in me since a child. It's not okay to scream in this restaurant. But if, if I have nobody here and like I probably won't get the cops set on me, or even if I was and I just accepted that I can scream, like I could access it. But I realized through your share, Zoe, that there's just an absolute block there. So I can't scream. And so I found a way to cope. And that's like me moving, and I'm okay with expression and like talking louder and breathing loud and, maybe pushing Ethan a little bit. But like that scream is totally conditioned out of my access. And like with your share, I realized that. So thank you.
Really?
Okay.
Something also that brought up a lot, Zoe, and I was sort of thinking about some like solutions coming through of like when we do give ourselves that permission, especially with witness, because the way that it like triggers or activates that same sensation of the repression that we have in others, I think is where the medicine really starts to come in, is we feel like, oh, I'm not alone in having maybe at this point many generations of repressed feelings and traumas building up. And so what we really need is like a consistent practice of permission, whether that's in private or in public, like ways to channel that either into creative like life work or artistic or endeavors or poetry or whatever, or into direct, like physical, somatic or verbal, like primal expression. And so I think the more we can make a routine and rituals of these releases, the less there is built up. But it's scary because sometimes that pressure cooker has so much steam behind it that we feel we might explode, and like also the collective is holding so much that like it's really it's really important to start finding our mechanisms to let some of this pressure release.
Well, thank you, you guys. I guess the big question for me is like, are there actual moments where it does require discernment and it is more appropriate to not process, not release, and not, whether it be like with my children, it's not appropriate to share certain things with them or process certain things, or with a client, with a friend, like whatever it might be in public. Are there moments where it is actually appropriate, and who decides kind of thing? So yeah, that's the question that's really alive in me.
So what comes when you say that, Zoe, is agreements, something I really value. So for example, right now we're in this container having a conscious conversation about this, and everyone here now, when we are together in person, it's like we're creating a new agreement. Like, hey, when you yell, I know that it's not a threat to my safety. I know that you're just doing your thing. Of course, like if we're yelling in someone's face, that is abrasive. If we're just yelling, that's not. That's just expression. So this is about like conscious relationships, conscious friendships. This is what we're doing here today, is coming to this understanding and giving each other permission to do this thing, right? Whereas if we just meet someone for the first time, we can't expect that they're going to understand or that they're going to not call the police. You know, like we really, we create the container for that to happen, and with time, hopefully give others permission to do the same. Is there any other shares before I move to the next topic?
Hi. I didn't fully grasp the question. I just want to be honest about that. So just letting you know.
The question, well, yeah, I was asked so long ago, I forgot what it was.
Okay, we can move on. All
Does
good.
anyone remember? Can review the chat, I think it's in there. Okay, so what we're moving towards now is, instead of leaning into reaction, how do we get curious about the mirror in front of us? So someone on this call could say something and it's like all of a sudden you feel your neck, your shoulders, the buildup of energy, like Natasha was describing in the beginning of the call. And she has two choices in that moment. She can say, hey, Simone was facilitating, it's her fault. Or hey, Ethan's sitting next to me, it's his fault. Or, you know, like we can do that. Or we can say, hey, what's alive in me right now? And this is liberation. This is true liberation. When you mix the expression and the permission to feel without the blame game. Because when we're playing the blame game, we're not evolving through the mirror. There's an intelligence in the mirrors around us always. Like, that is just the laws of resonance. Like, you are all my teachers, as I might be yours. There's a symbiosis happening, and we're picking and choosing. Like, this feels good, this doesn't. But it's not. It's energy. At the end of the day, it's not the person, because each one of us and everyone in this world, we're evolving in real time in every minute of every day. Who I was yesterday, I'm not today. And so I could say, like, forever, I'm not going to speak to this person, but like, that was that version of that person. You don't want to meet the next version of that person? The next version could be really cool. And so, like, we make this less about blaming and more about trusting the intelligence of our feelings. Now, when we have this perspective, now we look at what the mental health crisis actually is that's happening. Is we are, and I say we, but what I'm saying is society is prioritizing comfort over feeling. Like, in order to stay comfortable, we're gonna drug this person. In order to stay comfortable, we're gonna hospitalize this person. In order to stay comfortable, we're gonna jail this person. This is like the big overarching thing. And so even today on this call, I had someone ask me, can I send this person who's in an episode to your call? And I said, that's not the person that needs to be on this call. The person in the episode is feeling for the collective, feeling for themselves, feeling all sorts of things that we don't understand. They don't need to be here. Who needs to be here? The people around them who don't know how to feel, who are being triggered by his feeling, by his expression. And this is the core of my teachings, okay? And I say this because I have been graced with the experience to be that person, because like I said, I normally am the person trying to make everyone comfortable, or historically have been the person trying to make everybody comfortable. And then I was gifted the experience to be the disruptor in the field and to feel how that comes from pure love. Everything is pure love. And that even more so, because like I am sacrificing my reputation, my livelihood, my job, my friends, my whatever, you name it. I could be outcast and shamed by doing this, and I'm gonna do it anyway, because I'm just simply like, I'm here to transmute the energy that's in the field right now. That's what the disruptor is doing. I'm not making it right or wrong, it's just that is the truth and what's happening with the person who's expressing. That's making other people feel uncomfortable. And so if we can remember that it's love that it's a mirror, that it is divine. Everything, every single thing that happens to us in every moment, even our reaction, that too. Like, not making it wrong. Because what came through yesterday with August is that making anything wrong is a losing frequency. Right? We fight against reality, we lose 100% of the time. So anything in your reality that you're making wrong, you're making yourself the loser. You're just the fucking loser in that moment, right? So it's like not making it wrong when you want to make something wrong. It trickles in every direction. And so it gets to a point where you can just laugh about it and be a child again. Children don't come into the world thinking anything is wrong. Animals, they don't walk around thinking anything is wrong. They're just like, one moment to the next, what's happening? I'm responding to the moment. So it's really like, if we all prioritize ourselves, our feelings, our emotions, the world would heal on its own. It would heal on its own. Okay. I'm gonna open the floor for shares, and I want to invite those who haven't shared yet, if you feel comfortable. What's coming up for you on this call? There's no wrong answer. Silence is welcome too. And so if there's no shares that want to come, I'm gonna move into our Earth Angel Toolkit that we have designed. And this can obviously apply for anyone, not just those that are experiencing what we call mental health illness or whatever. It's for everyone. So I'm gonna share first my screen. And just let me know if you can see this image. A thumbs up if you can. Yeah, okay. Thank you. Whoa. Okay, so this is the Earth Angel checklist. This is how we let love lead. And as we just described, fear, well, I think in another way we describe that, fear escalates and love stabilizes. So when we're in fear, we step away, we take a pause, we recalibrate, we do what we need to do. We're not the person to help someone else in those moments. And so how do we recognize whether we're in fear? We really do have to sometimes step away, close our eyes, tune into our heart field, and feel what's most true in our body in that moment. So these steps are not in order, and the discernment determines the priority. And so number one is naming the state. Acknowledging what you're observing, using clear, compassionate language, naming the facts of the situation rather than the worst case scenario that is it being imagined. And this is what we're doing for someone who, what we say is in an episode, because really they might not be aware at all. And I can say for myself, I wasn't. I needed someone to tell me that I was traveling dimensions and that I wasn't in consensus reality anymore, because it's simply like whatever we're experiencing is real for us. That's always true. And so for people who are travelers, journeying, whether with plant medicine or not, they are going to need that reflection in any way possible. If you know the person personally and you know that they've had previous episodes, you can say, hey, I think you're having an episode right now. And that will be very helpful to the person. Two is validating and supporting agency, listening without trying to argue or convince them of another reality. This is true for everyone always. Validate their experience. Help them feel seen, heard, and understood. Ask if they have an advocate, trusted family member, friend, or professional that they'd like to involve, and offer choices whenever possible. Okay, that one speaks for itself. Co-regulating, inviting someone with lived experience or professional training. And this is really what we're doing here. We are all becoming that embodied person who can support someone and really advocate for someone who's in an episode, because we're better understanding what is happening when we see the disruptors in the field. So we tune into our heart field and take slow, deep breaths. Our presence helps regulate the field. We can take shifts if support is prolonged. It shouldn't be all falling on one person. And if you become fearful or overwhelmed, stepping away, asking someone else to step in. Supporting stabilization. So this is for the person who's had previous episodes. They might have prescribed medications, and if it's between them going to a hospital and being chained to a bed or taking medication, I can say 9 times out of 10 they're going to choose the medication. So we want to offer that because it does work. It is a tool to bring you back into the 3D realm. Encourage rest, hydration, nourishment, sleep. Help the person move into their own space and away from stimulation because they're feeling the field wherever they are. So we want to get them out into nature or alone even. Guide them into early intervention with supportive therapies, which we will talk a little bit about after this. And identify any existing self-care or coping plan. Maintaining clear boundaries. This is so, so important. Okay, because it's up to each and every one of us to know where our boundaries live. So we be firm and consistent. And I wrote calm there, but sometimes not calm, Sometimes it really is about the hard boundary that needs to come through. So you communicate your limits. I'm going to give you an example of what that looks like in a minute. Restrain only when necessary to prevent harm, using minimal force required to protect everyone, and the boundaries create safety. So assessing safety, emphasizing discernment, again, overreaction, staying grounded in the facts of the moment, not letting fear or catastrophic thinking determine your response. If there is an immediate risk, ask for assistance, and safety comes first. And then after the stabilization, it's doing what we're doing on these calls. It's speaking, sharing, integrating what was remembered, what was frightening, what helped, and what support is required next time, or requested next time. Okay. So, talking about boundaries, first and foremost, because that creates the safety in the space. If someone's coming into your home, for example, and throwing things and breaking things, you have every right to physically remove them. Or, of course you can try first with your words, but if that doesn't work, you protect your home, right? So there are time and place to use physical intervention. And if someone's repeatedly hitting you, you have a right to hold them down. If someone's kicking you, we are suppressed in so many ways that we think there's never a time for physical altercation, but there is a time. If someone's hitting you, you have every right to hit them back. If someone's hitting you, you have every right to push them out of your field, to push them out of your home. That is the time, that is the place to do that. Now, when we're talking about assessing the facts, is the person having a tantrum like a child and they're kicking and hitting, or are they being is it true violence? Do they have a gun? Do they have a knife? Are they really trying to harm someone? You know that by looking at your body, hey, do I have any markings on me right now? If the answer is yes, you can call that harm. If it's they're doing this, they could be like a child just trying to push the energy out of your body. This is literally what children are doing. This is what autistic people are doing, and their bodies just do things and they're not thinking about it. It's very similar to someone who's in an episode. They're not thinking about it. They're not I'm going to go attack this person. They're feeling energy and their body's just responding to that energy. So if we call that violence, we could end up making that person believe for the rest of their life that they're a violent person. And guess what? When someone believes they're a violent person, what are they going to do? Create more violence in the world. It's not helpful. It's not helpful to anyone. So this is why, like, if you're in fear, which you have every right to be, you step out, right? Call someone in who's not in fear. There are people who are really strong in those situations. Those are the ones that we want to call forward, and not be fearful of leaving the person on their own. Like, they're gonna, like, don't think of the worst case scenario, because I'll give you an example. The last time I was hospitalized, the people that came to my talk in my circle that were integrating that experience, they're like, well, you could have drowned or been raped. And I was like, does that have anything to do with my condition? Could that happen on any given day? You know, like, literally just the assumption, the framework that we've been taught is that this person is crazy and they're going to kill themselves. And it's like, I wasn't saying I was going to kill myself. So it's really like, where are these projections come from? If they're living in us, we take a step back. Yeah, so with that, and that checklist, are there any questions, comments, anything that we want to dig in further?
I just self-awareness there. I forgot I was in the Earth Angel framework and I went into the victim, and like I was the one getting attacked and da 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 da. And like I think that just an awareness that if you're holding space and you find yourself going into the victim, that's when you got to step out. Like instantly, it's like if I'm in fear, but like in that moment, I turned into the victim and I didn't I forgot I was there supporting somebody. So just, I'm going to write this in my notes, but I just wanted to speak it and even have something to say.
Yeah, that's really valuable. And I want to like step back into this, like this alchemy and like angel work. Like, what does the angel do when they step into that situation? I think they often like empower someone who's going through crisis to find their strength in their own vulnerability and to transmute whatever that experience is. And like step back to that initial perspective of this disruptor is carrying an important medicine for the collective. So how to like not otherify that situation and find how to. I think there's like, I see this like there's a gradient, and like it, we were talking about the other night of like, if someone's going through, maybe they're just screaming or something, they're in a great state to move their energy, and they might even help others around them to see like, oh, I can start like letting go of some of this collective trauma together right now. If that's affecting someone else in the space, in the cafe, for example, in a negative way, maybe we can like put ourselves in that spectrum somewhere to be a filter, to be like a membrane, and sort of help integrate that experience for other people that are in a different part of the reality spectrum. And like that's where like often the person going through an episode or whatever, an abnormal experience is in, you know, in they're in reality as well. It might be different from the consensus, but maybe consensus reality isn't actually that healthy in our society, and we're trying to break through to a new reality. So these pioneers, like the fine line between like schizophrenia and a vision holder or something, how do we empower these alternate states to become capable of serving their purpose and channeling through the energy that they're meant to bring into this plane? I'm just going to leave that open, I guess.
Thank you. Those are two really good points. It's going to look different for everyone. We all have different strengths, right? So, Ethan, for example, with you, it might look like you comforting the people around that person, like being that middle man to help them with their process. And someone like me, I'm going to go like right into the action. I'm going to be with that person because I know exactly what it's like to be in their position, right? And someone like Natasha, she might be pulling out all her fairy magic tools and doing things to, you know, to calm everyone's nervous system. It's going to look different for everyone. And that's the beauty of being an Earth Angel. We get to be exactly who we are, true to who we are. We don't have to step out of our line. We don't have to like do something we're not comfortable with. We don't have to pretend, nothing like that. It's like feeling, what do I even want to contribute? Like, this happened yesterday. I had a friend in an episode and I was feeling, I don't feel he needs anything. Intuitively, I feel like he's on his journey and I'm really trusting his journey right now. I'm there to support those around him. But I don't feel like, they were telling me to call him. I was like, I don't feel like he wants to talk to me right now. I really trust that he's just like having his own experience. So it's really honoring what's true for us in that moment. Anyone else want to share something? Okay, so with that, the last little bit that I wanted to share are the tools to regulate nervous systems. And some of you might already be very familiar, so I'm just going to name them quickly. But I brought a few with me, and I started this call with these tuning forks. Really do recalibrate the energy at any given moment. I'll give it a ring so you can hear it. And so as the disruptor, I can say I've been the one to break glass to recalibrate the energy. That recalibrates the energy too, but in a different way. But it breaks and redirects the whole field. And this is happening in many ways all the time. Just naturally, like the rhythm of the earth will bring us a loud truck when we're feeling anger or something like that will happen, right? But if the intention is to recalibrate in a soothing way, these are really great. There's also essential oils. This is for the nervous system with like lavender and mandarin and grape and rose in here. And you can just put this under someone's nose, tell them to take a deep breath, tell someone to breathe with you. Like let's breathe together. Let's take 3 breaths together. That's always available, right? And then these are just extra tools if you have them on hand or if you want to get them. These are flower essences. This is a rescue remedy that someone made for me when I was in psychosis, and I can feel that it does calm my nervous system. There's like 3 drops under the tongue. There are frequency devices, which I also have here. This is just one. There's so many different models where you can recalibrate a room with literal frequency. And then there are stones and rocks. And so like if you have access to these things and the most dysregulated person in the room, it might be the person having the episode, it might be someone else, likely. You just, place these in their hands, have them place them over their heart, either taking a breath. Crystals, stones, gems, all of these things, grounding on the earth. There are many things that we can do. And if someone's having an episode in a city, we really want to get their feet on the earth as quickly as possible. And so that's the toolkit. And I want to just open space one more time before we end with some poetry from Alam today. Is there anything else that wants to come through?
Yeah, I have to share one of my potentest tools. Can you hold this for a sec? Lots of acupressure options. You can always look up on the internet for different, like if you have anxiety, your heart's racing, or you have nausea. But I love havening when my nervous system, and this evokes from childhood, or if not. But you stroke one side, and you're breathing while you're doing this, self-hug. And then breath is one of the biggest tools, or there's tapping. There's so many modalities that the tool is you. So just want to say that. So I'll collaborate with Simone some more and and everybody, if you feel inspired to share with us some tools, that would be exciting to just let it continue the list.
Thank you. Yes, we'll make a collective list of tools for Earth Angels. Perfect. Thank you.
What's coming through me is this is the way that I work with children, with education, with birth, and holding people through these kind of processes, but is like really getting kind of out of the head and getting into like my intuitive connection with that person, with myself, with source, just like kind of as a channel. And I feel like we all have opportunity to connect into that at any given moment. And it's like we can think about like, oh, maybe this or maybe that thing or whatever. And it's great to have like these tools, but really as like a gauge of where to go or what to do or what tool to pull out, for me, it's always in that connection with that intuitive flow. And then whatever is needed in that moment is really aligned in that moment. Like I feel like we have this divine wisdom that we can always tap into, and also like witnessing other people when they're in these altered states, like how actually connected they are. We have like double people here.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. Intuition. Hi, Kat. Any other final words before we go into the poem of the day?
That was my cue. Is that?
Yeah, it looks like
Yeah.
everyone's ready for you.
Yeah, I had to change. My laptop is about to run out. Well, this poem came through a little while ago, huh? For a different moment, but maybe it was for right now. I just find it. I think what's also coming through me, or what's this call is bringing up, is just this really interesting and obviously very deep inquiry of the contemplation that there's no right or wrong, and there's no even right or wrong in saying that things are right and wrong. And how deep is the audio okay? Because I know these headphones got a bit damaged. Okay. And yeah, and how deep that contemplation goes, because it feels like if we all take radical responsibility for our reality, there's something that I'm tuning into, at least, is that there's everything that we experience, right, is somewhat just a reflection of ourselves, and it's not coming into our field by any mistake. And that can be obviously confronting. And maybe this poem speaks something to that. Trying to find it. Is there anything you wanted to say about the poem before I go for it, Simone?
Just that you're our designated poetry writer for all future calls. The channel is pure, it's clean, it's divine, it's magical. And Alan wrote this poem just having read some of my writing on mental health crisis, and it was better than anything I could have ever channeled. And poetry has a way to really carry a space behind it and like seep into our being. And so I really appreciate and value this art form and this poet.
Yeah, and it's almost like when we let ourselves go into that terrifying space of losing all control, right? We become a conduit of something else, and usually being used for something greater. So the poem is called "Fear is the Mind Killer." Fear is the mind killer. Belief in the fear clouds truth. Fear is the mind killer. We are the shepherds of our fears. Our fears are where our gold hides. Our fears are where the medicine lies. If we can lean into them with curiosity, if we can lean out of them with unseriousnessly, there are fears we experience individually. There are fears we face collectively. Wherever there is closure to heart's infinity, wherever there is tension to mind's purity. Here we find at the root there is fear. Fear of chaos, fear of unknown, fear of change, fear of death, fear of the reality of truth itself. We're not aligned with the way things actually are. We're not aligned with the way things actually are. Moments of crisis, here is gold. Moments of intensity, here is growth. Any instance that closes your heart, any experience where fear starts, an opportunity to create art, to kill the fear, the ox before suffering's cart. So what fears are here? When the tensions arise, I used to close my heart due to non-organic tomatoes in my salad. Let me read that again. I used to close my heart due to non-organic tomatoes in my salad. I was devoted to purity, but not love. I was scared of a one world government shutting down travel, chemtrails, and vaccine passports, a dog's bark, a child's scream. My woman's feedback would shut down my system, something that I couldn't control, something that induced the unknown. So whatever doesn't fit into the box, whatever is unpredictable, I push away, hover, burn at the stake, tied to bed in chains, put in a cage. The wild man, our animals, are banished to the shadows. So now I try. I invite my Iron John to the table with my non-organic tomatoes, my non-organic tomato salad, and make love with them sometimes. So that when I see the fear come through the eyes of a woman in rage and bliss, I no longer close. Sometimes there are those amongst us now who operate outside this box, and their mere existence creates the fear and the fire that we have tried to extinguish for millennia. There are those that see what can't be seen, travel to where can't be known, and when the village no longer celebrates them, no longer initiates or guides or comprehends, they burn the village down rather than show the way. There are places that still exist where the freaks have crowns upon their heads, rather than locked behind bars and fluorescent lights, medicated, stuck in the in-between. If we turn towards our fear of unknown, of the invisible, we might see once more the gift in those that see, and remember how to create space for them in the heaven on earth we seek. Fear is the mind killer.